All right, everybody, welcome back, guys. Thanks for everybody tuning in. We are heading up to Kswap. As you can see in the description, we are picking out a turbo today for the K-Series MR2. We did just drop the engine in. If you didn't see that in the last video, I'll be explaining exactly how you guys can drop this thing in without a lift, because I did it by myself without a lift. It's ridiculous, but I'll explain today how I got that done. But first things first, let's head up to Kswap because we are picking a turbo out. We're gonna order our turbo manifold, and I'll also go over the fuel setup that we'll be doing on the MR2. But let's go ahead and cruise up and pick something out. All right, dudes, let's get to the house and I'll break down exactly the turbo we decided to pick out today. All right, guys, we are back from Kswap. As you saw, we did just grab the turbo, as I said. I'll talk about it in 1 second, but that is towards the end of the plans of today's video. I want to jump ahead and first talk about the fuel setup and how we got this engine into the car over here. As you can see, we do have our harness from Hux Racing that has been returned. This is the side that actually goes onto the engine, and then we actually have the portion that goes inside of the car already semi-lined up. I'll show you a sneak peek, but I'm actually not going to go too far into detail because, again, guys, we are doing the Haltech Elite 1500 plug and play. So during that time when I get that program, I'll be then showing you guys how to put the Haltech in, how the whole wiring system goes in through this car and everything. I want to make that one video so there's not confusion or any breakup in between the videos of how to get that portion done. But just a little sneak peek. Right behind the back seat, as you can see, this is the new fuse box that he's already made. As you can see, I ran it past the carpet already. Again, I will go back in time here and I will show you guys exactly how that thing is ran. As you can see, the shift box is in. Now, this is just a temporary shift knob, but yes, that is right. I did thread that thing down and it is now super short. The armrest is back down. Again, let's not get into too far of detail because I will go super spec on that in the future. Let's go ahead and talk about how we got this engine in and what fuel system we're going with. First things first is these actual engine, guys. It is in. As you guys can see, we got our fuel rail hooked up over there. Again, our whole fuel system with injectors, a fuel pressure regulator, all of our lines going all the way through. If you haven't seen already, we did take out the original fuel cell. It's a 30-year-old cell. We do not, our cell, which is the tank. We do not want to use that. Instead, down, and this thing's like a hot dog, by the way, guys. It's like elongated all the way through down here, like through the center console. That actual part that humps up in the center, the tank is like sitting through that portion, if you can imagine that. And now what that looks like. So I did pull that out because, again, we'll be doing an actual fuel cell in the very front. So long story short is we'll get some injectors, pop them in there, and you'll see me make these lines, but I'll be making custom lines from this down there. It's going to shoot all the way through there, go all the way to the front into the frunk, where there's going to be a fuel cell, which I'll show you in 1 second. Then we'll have one running through the other side to a fuel pressure regulator all the way back. So fuel pressure regulator connected to that, extra line going all the way back. And there we go. As you guys can see, this is all emptied out already. I've already taken this completely apart pretty much. I've tried to clean up a lot of the lines. I got a couple more things to do over here before we do the fuel cell. I'll be actually going in and drilling out that little spot welded piece right there because that thing sticks up like 3 inches and it will be preventing our fuel cell from fitting in there nice and easy. Regardless, though, we'll be running the fuel safe fuel cell. This is a picture of it right here. This is what it looks like. Super gangster, man. It is, you pay for it too, mind you, okay? So instead of doing inline fuel pumps and all that good stuff, this one actually has a surge tank inside of it with pumps and then pumps externally as well. As you can see, there's all the connections and all the wiring and everything. I will show step by step as I put that thing in and how it connects and everything. We'll be having it hooked up to our normal, it has a fuel sender unit on there so you can still see your fuel level. I'll be having that hooked up to the original lines that run in the car naturally, and that way on our dash, because we are doing the IT7 Haltech dash, we'll get all of our information on there from that fuel cell. But that is the tank that we're going to be running up there. The reason I'm doing that, guys, not only is it way less complicated if you actually have your fuel cell that has the tanks inside, the surge tanks, all that good stuff. As you know, surge tanks as well are really, really good for fuel delivery and demand. You know, it never runs out of that fuel because you always have that extra tank that is holding some fuel in it. All right, so super pumped up about getting that whole setup. We gotta wait for it. 8 weeks on back order minimum, it says, until I get that actual fuel cell. That is pretty far ahead. We'll be doing that to PTFE lines, again, running all the way up down where that old fuel tank used to be and running up to our fuel pressure regulator and our fuel rail over here. But yeah, that's the setup for it. Super awesome. Not only is it awesome day one, we're gonna do one pump on it on day one, because again, this is gonna be stock motor tuned, 500-600 horsepower, something like that. And then it has options up to 3 different fuel pumps. So that being said, we can just add a fuel pump as we need it again. And this thing will be an absolute monster one day. And with that being said, we can just keep adding to that fuel system, okay? It's expensive, man. That's like an $1,800 fuel system with one pump that's in the tank and then one pump that's in the surge tank. Just 2 pumps and the actual system, $1,800, dude. And an 8-week minimum weight order. Regardless, that's what we're doing, guys. We'll run lines all the way up. I'll show you exactly how to do those. Now let's talk about how I got this actual engine in here by myself 100%. All right, guys. As I said, the engine is in, man. All the mounts are all connected. I'll show you exactly how right now to do this by yourself. Again, this is gonna be another day. We did get the Hux wiring harness here, and as you can see, some of the body harness is already running through here, through the body. I will show that 100% how it connects, how it plugs and plays when I do the actual Heltec connected, so it's all one integrated, and you guys can figure out how to do that. Even my cables now, the hybrid racing cables are all connected here. The shift box is in, and there's a small modification that you're gonna do to make it actually fit just like that. I do have the Hux Racing flat shift box with a hybrid racing shift actual assembly there. But again, I'll go into that later in detail, so if you guys want to get it looking like that, you guys can. And or if you have other cables, you guys know exactly how these things plug up. But to get this actual engine in, first thing I did was I put on my transmission mount over here onto the actual transmission, okay? After I got that onto the transmission, I went over to the other side, and there's one right there going to the original spot right there. So what I did was I actually bolted that motor mount, not to the engine, but actually to the body first, because it has a flat panel right here that's 3 bolts going into the engine, okay? And then I was prepared now to get this engine lifted up, and I can put the bolts in the side over there, and then when I get it lifted high enough, I can actually put my bolt through that little hole right there, and then you're mounted up on those 2 sides, okay? So what I ended up doing was, if you guys didn't see originally, I had these little ramps like this under the front tires, where I literally jacked it up and put a ramp under it, put a ramp on the other side, and then I jacked this car up, and it was just on jack stands on either side, okay? So it was decently high. That being said, it wasn't high enough. So what I ended up doing was taking my jack, mind you, this whole assembly was gone. The tires, the wheels, the subframe was completely gone. If you guys don't remember what that looked like, I jacked this car up all the way as high as I can, and in this little wheel well right here, I ended up taking the engine and getting it through there. Literally, I just put my foot out because I literally was pushing it through with my foot with it jacked up, mind you, as high as possible. All the way there, it skated right under there. I got it in a line. I started bringing it back down nice and slow, nice and low, nice and slow. Now, mind you, I did have a jack stand on the other side while I was doing this because, again, the suspension was not there. So it was as low as possible over there, and this was as high as possible. I ended up getting the engine in, and then I ended up jacking it down, little, and then I ended up going in the back area over here, and then I ended up jacking the car up, or letting it go down almost all the way down. Now this back was almost touching the ground, okay? And it was on the ramps in the front. Now when that happened, this engine was now almost perfectly in line with that, because again, this whole thing was almost on the ground. When that happened, I could almost just wiggle this around a little bit. I was able to get my pin through on that side, went over the other side, did the exact same thing. If you can get this car down to the ground like that, just like I had, I'm telling you, it was like 3 inches off the ground when I did that. You can just put your 2 pins in. After that, you just jack the car up off the back. It's being held in by either side, and then you can go ahead and assemble your front one, assemble your back one, and you are good to go. Make sure everything is tightened, and your engine was in. That's how I did it by myself the other day, 100%, and no cherry picker needed or anything. So super happy with how this came out. Okay, so that was probably the worst explanation ever of how I did that, but I hope you guys did understand how I got that engine in by myself 100%. I hope you guys get jacked up by the fuel cell going on. But that being said, our next step, we're doing it all at once. This is a K-Series turbo going down. We'll go through 2 different sets of turbos and 2 different sets of injectors. I know it's kind of against my own rule, like always shoot for the future and stay there, but for specific reasons, I'll show you in a second, we have to go smaller turbo and smaller injectors, and eventually we'll go big and big, okay? When the engine gets built, that's how it's gonna be. So for starters, the injector setup we're gonna do right out the gate are gonna be 1000cc injectors. So some basic injectors just so we can get a good tune. It will be on E85 day 1, and we'll do that with our brand new Boost Lab turbo, which I'll pull out right now, we can take a peek at. All right, dudes, before I show the turbo, as you guys see, Boost Lab, man, this is Boost Lab supported, man. Kirk and Ryan, thank you guys so much for always showing me so much love and support. Always troubleshooting anything, helping people put builds together, and always showing phenomenal customer service, which I think is #1. If you have any questions or comments, guys, hit them up. Ryan is the sales manager, Kirk is the owner, and they do phenomenal work out there, and their customer service is awesome, man, which I think is #1 in a company. So I'm super pumped up to be in relation with them and get this stuff going. And this is why we're actually with the turbo, and I'll talk about it right now. And boom. There it is, guys. That is the new fresh turbo, guys. This is it. This is the Boost Lab brand new. Now, mind you, this is actually brand new released for them turbo. This is a freshly made 64, 66 dual ball bearing turbo that they now offer. Absolutely amazing construction. Per normal, this is regularly oil cooled, and it also has a coolant option if you want to run through. Obviously, as I said, this is an option, so it is plugged off right now, but you can unplug that and you'll be able to run coolant through there for extra cooling capabilities. This turbo will do a ton of different power on this thing, and this is going to be awesome. I think exactly what I'm looking for the stock motor tune day one. We're hoping for about 500 to 600 horsepower on the stock motor day one on this K24. And then beyond that, when we freshly build it, we'll be actually upgrading our turbo to their next step up, which will be the Boost Lab 6870. Now, that will be in the far future, so we decided to go ahead with this first. Because again, if you guys, just as a reminder, we're going to be turboing this stock motor first, and then we'll be jumping back over to the Evo to sleeve that motor that has the 6766 on it right now. And we'll be finally turning that thing up to over 800 wheel horsepower. Currently, it's at 600, okay? So I'm super pumped up. We will be jumping right back to that. So in the meantime, probably for a year plus, we'll be running the 64, 66 turbo on this K24 motor, hopefully producing that good number, and then eventually we'll upgrade to another one. Now, hopefully that better explains a little bit exactly why I said we're going with 1000cc injectors first, okay? Because we're doing 1000cc injectors with a 64, 66, and when this engine finally gets built, we're not going to be running 8 injectors like a lot of people do run on these fully built engines, and it actually has an 8 injector capability on this Skunk 2 race intake manifold back here, but instead we'll be running the brand new ID 2600cc injectors. Right now, that would be beyond overkill for the next year plus as we're running this on the stock motor, so I didn't want to jump way ahead. The price difference is over triple the price between the thousands and those 2600s. Totally makes sense, obviously, but it was just going to be a waste of money, so we decided to go with 1000 cc's for now. Eventually, we'll hopefully get a couple bucks back out of those, sell our 64, 66. But again, in the meantime, that's the exact setup we want to do. All right, guys, so we got this big old ball bearing whirly bird right here. We're obviously going to have to get a new turbo manifold for that as well. So we did source out and have ordered our top mount turbo kit. RMS Fabrication is the guy. Ryan, you're the man. He is making these awesome turbo manifolds, top mount ones with billet collector ends on them specifically for the K-Series MR2 to fit perfectly in here. Whether you have a twin scroll or a single scroll, he makes both variances. We are going with the single scroll 60 millimeter wastegate on one side instead of two 44s. We're going 160 big boy right here. He has made them to be able to clear all the mounts so he can shoot straight down to the ground, and it makes it to where, since we're doing the single side, we'll be able to do a full exhaust system that goes down, dumps out there, and goes right at the back, okay? We do have some special plans during the fabrication process of the actual exhaust and the wastegate dump, so I don't want to get too far into the surprises that are coming with that. But point being is awesome turbo manifold. These are made to order, so it's going to take some weeks until you guys actually see this on the channel bolted up here. But when we do get it, we'll bolt that up, get our turbo strapped up. We'll start working on our lines, our return and our feed, and that way we are fully prepared for that portion, and then we can start jumping back into our fuel setup. As I mentioned, we will be going through 2 different sessions with this car, which is my big no-no, but not with this one, okay? This is going to be a stock motor for a while because, again, we're jumping back over to the Evo to sleeve that thing so we can finally turn it up as soon as this is stock motor turboed, okay? That's why we went with the 64, 66, because this turbo is going to be able to work very well with this regular stock motor, opposed to when we fully build it, we'll be upgrading to Boost Lab 6870 to produce that really big number. Right now, that would have been drastic overkill. Too much lag, we don't want to mess with that, so we decided on the smaller 64 trim, okay? Which should still, like I said, produce 500-600 horsepower or something like that, and have a ton of fun with this extremely light car. That being said, we also said we're doing the 1000cc injectors over here. This Skunk 2 race intake manifold does take up to 8 injectors if desired. A lot of people with these built K-Series engines end up running 8 injectors all the time, okay? But luckily, I'm actually going a different path. I'll be always just running 4 injectors instead of the 8 because ID just came out with the brand new 2600cc injectors, which will give me more than enough fuel that I need no matter what I do. Even with the fully built engine and the 6870 strapped up to it, we'll be good to go with fuel all the way through and through. And then again, the turbo upgrade coming shortly after that. Oh my God. Dude, I almost just slammed the MR2 door right into the Evo just swinging it open. Usually I park far, but this time I guess I didn't. It is like 2 millimeters from smashing it. Besides that, guys, the fuel stuff is coming in very soon. We also have our computer system. Again, this is all going to be separated videos between the whole fuel setup, the whole electrical setup, and then again, we do have our new shift assembly here that's all set up, which I did, as I said, thread this thing down over here, and now it's all set up. I want to go over this and the lines and everything on another day, but that is all set up. I hope you guys do enjoy these updates, man. We have plenty more stuff coming. As soon as this stuff comes in, we'll be hooking up and plugging it up. That's that, man. But that is a new turbo setup that we're going for today, guys. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. If you see me at FL2K, please do say hello. I'll have a bunch of merchandise that I'll literally just be giving away. I'll be parked in the car show, say what's up. But besides that, guys, thank you for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.